Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Off the Shelf Book Talk with Book Lovers. I'm Elizabeth Nelson, here as always with Kay Johnson. And Kay, what have you been reading?
Well, how about the Sedition Hunters? It's another nonfiction book. This one is by a guy named Ryan J. Riley, and it is how the January 6th broke the justice system. But basically, it's about how a huge group of amateurs outed the people who invaded the Capitol, and how they analyzed like postings on Facebook and did searches and photograph matching and all sorts of stuff to bring people to justice. And so it's pretty
There's no
interesting.
hiding anymore in this technological age.
Well, it's becoming more and more difficult. And the interesting thing about this book is there was somebody on the inside of the Justice Department that was sort of leaking stuff. Sort of like a deep throat character. And so I'm not very far into it because, again, I'm still reading The Times. And but it's good, and my sister Jill, who enjoys reading, had recommended it. So how about you? Are you reading something fun?
I finished this one. Rebecca Yarros is a new, is an author, and her book, The Fourth Wing, is really, I'll get into what the book is about, but it really took off with the help of Book Talk on TikTok and Instagram, like bookstagrammers.
Okay.
Because they got a hold of it, and it was like everybody started reading this book, and nobody could get a copy anymore because everybody at once started getting it.
Okay.
And it just kind of shows you how the power of that internet group of people influencing other people, that you have to read it and it's good, and everybody reading it
So it went
really is
viral.
picking up. It did. It went viral. And the book follows, the main character's name is Violet Sorrengail. And this is a fantasy book. So she wanted to grow up to become like a scribe, so like a person who works and keeps notes on what's going on in the history of their country. And her mother is a general and decides, you're not doing that, even though you're very breakable. She's ill. And her mother has decided that she needs to be a dragon rider.
Okay.
Now, the main thing to know about this is the majority of the people who show up every year to go to learn to be dragon riders don't make it past the first day.
Do they like die?
They die. It's a very, very big thing to die in the dragon
So
quadrant.
why does mom want daughter to do this?
Well, because everybody else in the family has done this and has been a dragon rider, and her brother died as a dragon rider, and her sister is still high in the government too. And so the book follows Violet through all of the twists and turns that are going on with this. And of course, there's a family's arch nemesis who is also in the dragon quadrant. And of course, you have to throw in love and intrigue. And the one thing that she also has gotten a lot of praise for is that Violet has this chronic illness. It's I'm not going to remember the name of it. It models like a real autoimmune disease that people have. And so it's different because she's made the main character fragile in this way. So she talks about like if she gets hurt, she has to put wraps on to support her joints, or she's sneaking off to the hospital wing to get treatment without anybody that's also training with her knows. And the other thing is with this book, this is one of those books that ended on a cliffhanger.
Okay.
And the second book, which is called, let me look it up here, Iron Flame, literally just came out on November 7th. So people have been like waiting for it to come out. So I do have it at home. It's a very pretty looking book. It's got black sprayed edges on it and everything. So it's, I really enjoy it. It's kind of a different take on it. The one part of it is like if the dragon you're riding dies, the rider dies. So everybody's kind of like connected to their dragons. And Violet's dragon is very curmudgeon-y and kind of like this old man that just has these really great one-liners, which is great. But I really enjoyed it. I'm excited to see where it picks up when it starts again. And I have a library book I have to finish before I can start it, because otherwise I have to take the library book back and I won't finish it. But like I said, I'm really enjoying it. There are characters that you get very attached to. Some characters, like there was one character, you start to get really attached to him and you're like, oh, he's going to be like her best friend. And then he dies 2 seconds later and you're like, or not.
Or not.
Or not. So that kind of was like, well, I don't have to remember your name now. That's one less character for me to deal with. What about you? What else have you been reading?
Let's see. What else have I been reading? Let's talk about Richard Osman.
I'm almost done with it. We can talk about it, and I'll tell you when to stop.
What's the name of the latest?
The latest is so Richard Osman in his Thursday Murder Club series. The newest one is The Last Devil to Die.
That's right. That's right.
Which is the one that just came out.
I liked it because I like all the characters. But I did find a section of it difficult.
Okay.
Did you find a section difficult?
It's not so much that I've been having a difficulty finishing it. It's been more a difficulty being awake long enough to read, because I've had a child who insists on getting up very early. And so I have not been able to stay up much longer after he goes to bed. It's generally just kind of been like, I wave at my husband and I'm like, just go do your thing, because you can stay up till 11 o'clock and I cannot and function. I love the Thursday Murder Club characters. Every time they do anything, it just makes me laugh. They've got this whole little thing figured out on how to run everything and get around the system. And they're just
crooked.
Oh, they are, but they're so funny.
Elizabeth.
Yes, the one I am having a tougher time with this one just because Stephen, Elizabeth's husband, the dementia's gotten so much worse than the other 2-3 books. And so that's been kind of hard to... It's changed the dynamic of the group, because so far in the book, she's not playing as big of a part.
Right, because she's always
run Yeah, she's always run the group, and so now it's the...
Have you seen Joyce step up?
Yes, Joyce has stepped up.
I love Joyce's diary entries.
Yeah,
they're so funny.
Yes, Joyce's. I have a special place in my heart for Abraham. He's just so sweet and kind of just gentle.
How about Merton?
Merton? Yeah, Mervyn.
Yeah.
He's something. Yeah, no, I mean, it's just all these little characters. It's just one of those things where when you read these books, they're kind of like the Lillian Jackson Brown books with her cat series. You just want to jump into the books and like spend an afternoon with everyone. Not when everybody's getting murdered. That I could avoid, but hang out with the people and...
Yeah, because I like the detectives. And her boyfriend, Bogdan.
Bogdan,
yes.
I love Bogdan.
I love Bogdan, and he's so great with Stephen.
Yes. And so for those who don't know, the newest book, The Last Devil to Die, a friend of theirs who owned an antique shop is found murdered after he had taken possession of a container of drugs.
Heroin.
And we don't
from Afghanistan.
And we don't know where the heroin has gone.
And
or who did it.
Is so interesting, because you've got this group of senior citizens who live at a senior retirement community.
Yes.
And they are just like hardcore drugs.
They are.
Bad people.
Well, it's just the funny thing with like in some of the other books, it's, like I think in one of the other books they'd found some drugs and they planted them so that this drug dealer went to prison.
and what's his name? Abraham. Is counseling her.
Yes, he's counseling this person that he helped put behind bars.
Yeah, who she really likes. I mean, and then he goes to her to get scoop.
Yes, it's so funny. This is a book series that I wish that they could turn into like a TV series, just because I would want to. I know they would screw it up
Yes.
because they just do. But I would love to just see how all these characters would interact and
Well, and
Like
Joyce
the
always trying to
jump
get a
in and-
boyfriend.
yes, and she's always baking. She's another one of these people. They're always baking, or they're going to like there's some place she wants to go and eat. So it's like, yes, we're going to go ask people these intrusive questions about our murder. But then there's this cafe she wants to try right down the street. So,
Yeah, and with Stephen's dementia developing, then Elizabeth stepped back, and Elizabeth's the glue that really, I mean, she's the one who's like fearless.
yes, she's the terrifying
I mean, she's
person.
got a gun.
She does have a gun, yes.
And and she knows how to use it, and she doesn't hesitate.
No.
I mean, I think they're all sort of in awe of Elizabeth.
they're all just kind of like with this fourth book, it kind of feels like they've all really found their stride at what they know
Well,
they're good
all
at and how
sort
they
of-
can.
Which is the one whose son is
Ron.
Yes,
Ron was like I don't know if I can't remember if he was in government or if he was just more of like a lobbyist against the government type thing.
Oh, he was a union organizer.
Okay, yes, unions. That's what it was.
That's what he
so.
was. And so he was busy doing that, and Joyce was married.
Joyce was a nurse and she was
Right.
married.
And Elizabeth was with MI6. She was a
Yes.
spy.
She's a spy, and Ibrahim is a psychiatrist.
Yep, and Stefan was a spy,
I think so.
or worked for the government in some capacity. And
But I mean, they're all just, and then you have Joyce's dog Alan, who's in
Yeah.
everything. But I mean, it's just.
and Abraham walks Alan.
Yes, they love Alan. And
Yes.
it's kind of interesting too because leading up to the release of every books, the publisher has an Instagram account using Joyce's handle, and they'll post random pictures of the dog that is Alan.
Oh, that's
leading up to the
fun.
release of the book going out. So that's been kind of cool. It's kind of fun to see how the publishers use Instagram and those different things to kind of pull you in more.
Well, these
about the
are
books
huge
coming out.
books. I mean, they
Yes.
are. People love these books.
Well, and the author actually also hosts a trivia show.
Really?
Yes, so he's been hosting a trivia show over in Europe.
Well, he's definitely got a hit.
He's got his niche.
Yes, that really.
Well, and it's just different than anything that's really been out there. You don't see a whole lot of
senior sleuths.
senior citizen sleuths that are like a group.
Well, and
Like you get like Miss Marple and
Perot.
and those guys, but they're solo acts. They don't.
Well, you know what's interesting too is when I think of like my mom, her grandmother lives at the Village Cooperative, which is a senior, independent living place, and they have things like card games and movie night and parties and things. But now one of them has a murder club like
No,
this crew.
they do not. Could you imagine people from the co-op getting together and talking about cold cases around the
that's what
table
this-
in the great room?
This crew is what they do, and they go through it and they've solved some.
Yes.
And that's actually how they kind of hooked up with the police.
Well, they were getting together and talking about cold cases, and then in the first book, someone dies
Yes.
on property, and then Bogdan finds more dead bodies, and then more dead bodies keep popping up. But
Yeah, if you haven't read Richard Osman, I highly recommend it, but you got to read the books in order.
yes, the first one is called The Thursday Murder Club.
Yeah.
Real
and,
basic with the title.
Yeah, and you
then
sort
they-
of walk in the middle. With them.
everything's kind of going, but I mean, it's one of those things too where the writer is really good because he'll give you like a little bit of information, and then so like for like maybe 3 pages you know more than the characters do. Like I think at one point it's like Ron's walking towards his apartment and the lights are off, and if he would have been paying attention, he would have
Yes.
realized that he leaves his lights on.
Yes,
And would have been
exactly.
ready for what happened. And
Yes.
it's like, got it. But
Yeah,
no,
so-
I agree. It's
I don't know if the last book, though, was as popular as the other ones. And the only reason I say that is because I got that one from the library. And I didn't have to wait very long for it.
I ordered the 4th one because I have all of them now on my keep to read again shelves.
I've got 3 Kindle versions.
Yeah.
but I didn't. I
See,
just,
my only problem with the ones I actually have is 3 of them are hardback and the first one is paperback.
Oh.
And so I look at them and I go, you don't match.
Yes, that would be
Which
annoying.
makes me very unhappy.
So how
But
much of the book do you have left?
I'm a little over halfway,
Oh.
maybe.
You have a ways
But
to go.
I have a ways to go. But I'll sit down and I'll bang it all
Plow
out.
through
It'll be
it.
good. Well, I mean, it's one of those where it's every time I read a book that's in a series, and if you can't tell based on where the series is going, if the series is going to continue, I tend to read those books slower because I'm afraid the book is going to end. Like with Sarah J. Maas's Throne of Glass series, when Kingdom of Ash came out, she had said that was it for that main storyline for those characters. And so that was one of those two where I wanted to read it and I wanted to know what happened and I wanted to know how it ended, but I didn't want to know how it ended because then I was going to have to say goodbye to these characters that you had spent, I think, 7 books getting to know.
Long time.
7 or 8 books getting to know. And so it's the same with, Harry Potter, any of those books. It's an end of I think a lot of us like with Harry Potter, a lot of us grew up with Harry because like Harry Potter came out when the first book came out when I was in 5th grade because I can remember our teacher reading it to us. And, and then the last book came out, I think I must have been in high school maybe.
Well, all I remember is we had to buy 2 books.
Once Rebecca started reading too, yes. Because
And
we had to
then-
read them at the same time.
And then don't bother talking to you
Nope.
till you guys finish these
It
books.
we would get those. We would get the Harry Potter books and we would sit down and we would read. And that would be an all-day thing until the book was done. But I think, I think that's the reason a lot of people still, even though the author is problematic, people resonate so much with Harry Potter because there is a generation of us that we grew up with Harry and Ron and Hermione and all those characters. And it's, it's just you have those different
They're
series
like your
that
friends.
they are, and it's sometimes that's why I think a lot of people, some people I know, they do a yearly reread of some different series because they're your friends and you want to go back and it's the same way with if you like a comfort read, even though it's gonna. Lillian Jackson Braun's cat books for me are always going to be a comfort read, even though it's a murder book because they're characters and Quillerin and the books follow a plot line or a line that you're familiar with and you know what's going to happen. And again, with the Quillerin books, you're going to need to eat while you're eating them because they are always eating.
There are books like that.
Yes, but what else have I read? The other big one I read back in October for my scary read, I did Darcy Coates' new book, which was called Dead of Winter. Darcy is very big on Kindle Unlimited, and she's very much carved her niche out in the horror genre. And some of them can be a little gorier and nastier than others, and this one is a bit more on the bloody side. But it's basically a bunch of people were all going to a weekend up in the mountains, and it's supposed to snow. And of course, it starts snowing before it should have, and a tree fell down.
And they can't.
They can't get to where they were going, so they wind up in this tiny one-room little cabin.
And how many?
And I think there's 8 or 9 of them. And they wake up the next morning, and their guide is dead. And so slowly, as they all do because it's a murder mystery and you separate and you're away from people and you're not doing what you're supposed to, which is stay together, they start getting picked off one by one. And so it's everybody who's stuck in this cabin in the woods that can't go anywhere because there's a storm raging, trying to figure out what they all have in common, why are they all getting killed off, and who's doing it. So it's very much in that locked room type thing, but it's snowed in at a cabin with not good things happening. So it is, if you have a problem with gore, like this book, I couldn't read this book at night. And I was just like, I'm really glad I'm not reading this book when it's snowing outside because then I would scare myself to death. But she's very good at her horror genre and getting to that. And it was a nice different read for once to change it up a little bit, but
So have you ever, speaking of horror genre, have you ever read Max Brooks's,
World War Z?
yeah,
I have not. I'm not so much a Max Brooks fan as a Mel Brooks fan, because Max is his son.
yeah, that's right.
I have read that. I have not read Max Brooks. I have read Mel Brooks's autobiography. Well, I didn't read it. I listened to it, and Mel Brooks reads the book.
Oh, is it funny?
That is really good. Yes, but no, and it was with Max. Max is dyslexic, and his mother, Anne Bancroft, took off a lot of time and told him, that computers were going to be important for him and helped him put him on this book writing path.
Oh,
So that he
that's
found the love.
interesting.
That's from Mel Brooks. But I have heard a lot about World War Z.
Well, first of all, it's an interesting book because it's presented about the zombie war, and it's presented as if it really happened. And so there's short stories that interview all sorts of people from all walks of life around the world about how they were impacted by the zombie wars. And so reading it, you easily could substitute
Any kind of
conflict,
yeah.
yes.
Okay.
And so...
Well, I might have to check the book out. I have not done the movie. I have a
Oh,
problem.
you've never seen the movie?
I have I can do any kind of supernatural anything. Give me vampires, give me werewolves, give me demons, give me angels, give me anybody out of there, do not give me zombies. Ghosts I will do. Zombies, I cannot do zombies. And the worst zombie is a fast zombie.
Yes.
I hate fast zombies.
Yes.
And I have seen the previews and I know that it has fast zombies. And I do not, and like Day of the Dead or like Walking Dead where they're slow and you can get away from them, that's fine. But like 28 days later, 28 weeks later, the ones where they can just outright sprint at you, no.
No.
I cannot do zombies.
Well, the thing with World
Which is
War
so funny
Z-
because you are such a big zombie fan. And normally we match up with what we like to read, but this zombie thing has just been.
Well, the thing with... I like to read zombie books. I don't like to see zombie movies.
Yeah.
But we went and saw World War Z. And there is a scene in there that literally people in the theater cracked up because there's a zombie that's like locked in a glass room sort of, and they keep doing and it is so funny. It is like so funny. And I don't think it's supposed to be funny.
Well, and the new thing with, it's not a book series. It's based off of a video game, but HBO just finished the first season of The Last of Us.
Yes.
Which is a new kind of, I said it was a zombie series. Tom informed me I was wrong because it's actually a fungus series because it's a fungus.
Oh, not a zombie.
It's not a zombie.
But it's sort of the same thing.
It's the same thing, but he was like, because I was like, Tom, we started watching it. I was like, Tom, this is zombies. He goes, they're not zombies. It was a fungus. But I said, I don't care if it's a bloodborne pathogen, I said, it's the same thing. It was something that got into them. They are no longer, and they are running.
Yeah. And they eat people.
And he's like, well, don't you know about the video game? And I said, in what world would I know about this video game? It's zombie related. But Pedro Pascal's in it, and he is fantastic.
Fungus related.
Fungus
Betsy.
related, yes.
Fungi.
Fungi, yes. But no, I just can't do zombies.
Fast ones are bad.
Oh, they are. And see, and it's usually with those two, the zombies, that tends to be the worst of the gore factor. And I have I can handle some gore. Like I can read it and I'm fine, but I can't do it on the
Big
screen.
Yeah.
Makes me sick to my stomach. And it's one of those things with, like, when I was reading I read Game of Thrones because I was like, oh, if I read it, I'll understand what's happening. But even with that, there were episodes where Tom was like, you're not going to watch this one, or that one, and I will tell you what happens. Because he's like, because I am not dealing with you. It's the same with, like, the Hannibal TV series that was out with Hugh Dancy and Max something, I can't remember his name. As Hannibal, I've read the books. I have seen the original movies. Could not do the TV show. TV show way too dark. if I did, when I was watching it with Tom, we would have to watch palate cleansers afterwards. So we would have to watch like Friends. Or, and that's another book with the recent passing of Matthew Perry. His biography was his autobiography that he wrote was very good, which I mentioned with the Friends watching that. But it's kind of it's interesting how his death has made such an impact because people are still talking about it. And I know a lot of people that are doing Friends rewatches right now. But his book is very good.
I haven't read it.
That's another one that I listened to the autobiography that he read.
I was surprised the impact he had because I don't think he himself ever saw himself as a gifted actor. And
He's done an awful lot for people that are in recovery for things now. I think people are finding out more and more about that, but I know that he'd said in his biography that if someone reaches out to him for help, he'll help out. He's going to do whatever he needs to do, whether it's sponsoring or getting them to.
Well,
and I mean, he started a halfway house, I think. But I think at the same time with Matthew Perry, it's because, again, it's a generational thing where we all grew up watching it, and everybody wants a Chandler as their best friend.
Yes.
Because he was just
Chandler Bing.
He was Chandler Bing. He's just perfect. You
want to hang with them.
You wanted Chandler.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you wanted to hang with all of them, but I mean, Chandler was the one I think that everybody was like, oh, Chandler.
Well, he was cute.
He was.
And funny.
Yes. But, yeah, so it's sad.
I agree.
Well, and it's the same thing now with the Harry Potter movies, the amount of those actors that were in those that have passed away.
Yeah, the older actors.
Both Dumbledores are gone. Well, not even the super old ones, because the actress who played Mrs. Malfoy, she passed away.
Oh, right.
She was on Peaky Blinders also, so it's all these well, it's the same thing with killing off characters in books too. That always goes bad, but I guess we got to deal with it. But we have reached the end of our time again for this week. So
we'll be back though this time.
We will be back. We're not gonna take another 6-month hiatus.
No.
So thank you for being patient and watching some of the old episodes as we've taken this break. But we're happy to be back and
good reading,
2
folks.
episodes down, and we'll see you next time.